Steve Eisenbray. Do you think Jalen Reagor will take over Adam Thielen's place next year with maybe working out with Justin Jefferson in the offseason and working with McCardell in OTAs and such, or basically elevating his status on the team? Do you think there's room for Jalen Reagor to grow into a bigger role?
Yes, I think there definitely is. I guess here's my question. Thielen contractually, as we talked about, I think on PD today, is almost certainly back. Cutting him would be extremely difficult, and you would take a big hit. And I don't think that they are going to. I think that the goal here is, because he's from here and so well loved, that the goal probably is for him after this contract to possibly retire. So do I think that Jalen Reagor is going to take his spot next year? I think he might take some of his snaps. Here's my bigger question about that, because it's a really, really good point. Is Jalen Reagor going to replace KJ Osborne? KJ Osborne, I thought, was going to have a large role. He's had a role. And I think his statistics are fairly comparable to last year, but in 2021, it was a big surprise, right? Like KJ Osborne didn't do a thing besides return kicks in 2020, and now he's
700 yards last year.
But I feel like I looked up his stats a couple of weeks ago, and I feel like his stats at that point through the same amount of games were very much on par. So the point is, I'm not dismissing him. It's not like he's a complete bust, but it does feel like he has not been used as much as I expected. And Reagor, to his credit, every time he's gotten a chance, and it's been a very small sample size, has done well. It feels like he has probably exceeded what I thought. So yes, I think that there is a very good chance Jalen Reagor gets more opportunities, not only in 2023, but as this season progresses. I don't know if it's at the expense of Thielen, though. That's going to be a very political, like, that's not just as simple as aging receiver. Thanks for the service. See you.
I think he's their Walter Payton Man of the Year rep, for God's sake.
It's going to be a political hot potato for the Vikings, but I do think the goal will be to get Jalen more opportunities, because he brings something. He's got speed. He's caught the passes thrown his way. I think he definitely has made a case to have an expanded role.
So KJ Osborne, he's just a guy at this point, right? He was a 5th-round draft pick. You thought last year, oh man, maybe there's something here. 50 catches, 655, 7 touchdowns. So he is averaging half the yards per game this year as he was last year. He may have came on strong in like December, but he's averaging 9 yards per reception, which is atrocious. How about this? Now, it's small sample size alert, but KJ Osborne is averaging 8 yards a touch. Jalen Reagor is averaging 14 yards a touch, but he's only touched the ball 8 times.
Right.
But in his career, 86 touches, still a low number for Jalen Reagor. He is averaging 10 yards per touch in his career, which I don't know. I'm not saying that he's going to live up to his first-round draft status, but there's more there than like 1 catch per game. So yes. I think there's a bigger role for Jalen Reagor. Forget about the offseason next year. I think there's a bigger role for him this year.
Agreed. Getting
him into an offseason, a full workout and everything, learning the playbook even more is going to be big for 2023 because he is under contract. But yes, I would. I'd love to see a little bit more.
He's a threat. He is. That's the thing. How many guys outside of JJ do they have right now at either tight end or receiver who you consider like a legitimate threat? I'm not saying catching passes. I'm saying
break a big play
a go route. You're running a 9 route. You're getting down that field.
And the work that he did on that play, like two safeties
yes.
over the top, like he comes back on an underthrown ball. Did a good job on it. Tyler Morin says, in regards to the conversation about the Super Bowl window, I'm curious about your guys' take on the schedule next year. We will be in first place and no doubt we'll have a tougher schedule. With that said, we've had one of the most difficult schedules this year of all the NFC contenders. So how much does schedule matter? It seems this year we've had more home games and the away games for New Orleans was across the pond. It seems, so yeah, next year that'll change. Seems it needs to be considered that the schedule is going to be fairly brutal. while the Rams are living that and have a bunch of injuries and stuff.
Exactly. It's so hard to say. This league is so hard to break things down like that right now because the schedule changes. Do you get more guys hurt? I mean, does Kirk get hurt at some point in time? He might. Who knows? Yeah, I don't. It's just this league. And plus, when you get the schedule, which will probably be in early spring, right? When we get the schedule, we're going to look at the schedule and we're going to pick it and we're going to break it down. And by the time October comes, 3 teams that we thought were going to be great might not be. And 3 teams that we thought were going to be terrible might be good. I mean, that's the toughest thing. The schedule to me, because there's so many factors, it's so difficult to actually know how things are going to look when you get to late October, November, which is when you can sort of decide, oh yeah, these teams are overachieving. Yeah. These teams aren't. Look, the Giants, when we got the schedule in April, the Giants look like a mess.
Oh, and the Jets too, right?
Jets,
yes, exactly.
Yeah, that Jets game, man,
You're right.
That wound up being, and you knew going in it was going to be a fight, but in August or in March or whatever, like, these guys are clowns. Let's see here. Corey Larson says, is there a path for Ed Donatel to be fired after the season? Maybe he'd be fired if the Vikings lose in the first round and give up like 40 points to someone like Seattle. All right, Judd, you love doing this. Why don't you paint the scenario in which Ed Donatel loses his job? Let's go down that dark path.
It's not a dark path at all. It's to me, it makes perfect sense. Okay. So Ed Donatel is the guy who knows the guy.
We're 10-2, and everyone's already trying to figure out how we can fire someone.
Because it can be improved. It can be improved. KOC would agree privately with what I'm saying.
He'll get a chance in December to improve it, and then we'll see.
Ed Donatel is I think, a very competent secondary coach. As a coordinator, he's the guy who knows the guy. And in this case, he worked for, and I think it was, I think he started to work for Fangio relatively late in his career. So he knows Vic, and Vic runs the defense that gives so many teams problems now. So Ed gets the job that way. And I think what we've seen is, okay, yeah, I mean, he knows the guy, but he's not the guy. And I told you guys write that down. My scenario is this. So Fangio's retired. I don't know if he wants to come back or not. I don't think he's going to be a head coach again. So he would be an option to at least call. The other guy, Brandon Staley, Chargers coach, Declan's favorite guy. He thinks he's a great coach. But Staley looks like a guy who might be a coordinator. And the other problem there is he is a defensive guy coaching Herbert who needs a KOC. Like Justin Herbert, to me, coaching wise, is sort of being wasted because there's a lot more there. And the Chargers are okay, but they shouldn't be. They should be good. So if the Chargers say, you know what, Brandon didn't work out. Kevin O'Connell and Staley, who worked together for a year or two with the Rams, are really good friends. Mm-hmm. Staley is another disciple, big time, of Fangio, who loves him. So Staley is the guy who knows the guy, but in this case, the guy treated him like a son. In Donatello's case, it was probably like a co-worker. So Staley's young. Staley has experience. He's great friends with O'Connell, and he almost certainly would want to stay in coaching. I don't think he's not the type of guy, because of his age, who would take a year off. Yeah. So you get him here and you say, no big changes, same type of defense, but your understanding of what I want is greater. You're going to give me a better chance to win games defensively. And there is your path to Ed Donatel being one and done in Minnesota.
Ed? Sorry, guy.
You think KOC would do it that way? Just play that Vince McMahon clip to him?
Yeah, Ed, he's on speakerphone. Ed, yeah, listen.
Vince has something to say to you. Who's Vince?
It would seem to make sense to, I think the first option would be their defense gets better in December and they go on a run and whatever. But if they felt like, if you kind of rewind to part of I think the thought process is you're trying to put together a staff and you kind of have limited time. It all happens very fast. You're a young offensive-minded head coach. You'd like a veteran person to just handle the defense, right?
Yes.
So Ed Donatel definitely was on that list. He checked some boxes. Mike Pettin comes in as your sort of assistant head coach.
That's an interesting one too.
You could even just slide him internally
Yep.
over to defensive coordinator.
Yes.
So I could see that. But if you felt comfortable after your first year and said, okay, all right, now I can kind of mold this the way that I really want to. Ed, thank you so much for helping us in my first year. Appreciate it, but we got to take another step. And a guy like Brandon Staley wasn't available when you were assembling your coaching staff for your first season. So that's definitely something. I think we put that on the back burner for now, but we love to get out in front of speculative topics. And so if they do continue to play poor defense in December, and if defense is, contributing to the demise of them in a playoff game, then this will be one of the big topics for sure in a few weeks from now. Prashant chimes in and says, whatever happened to Judd's keys? Did Keys die after last season?
What happened?
Did he quit due to creative differences with Judd? Is his absence the real reason for the Vikings' success this year? Is he drowning himself with Surly somewhere on a beach far, far away?
All right.
How's Keys doing?
I have not divulged this yet, but since it was asked, I'll fess up. What I heard, and this is secondhand, I heard that Keys is with the Whisperer on an island.
Oh,
That the hockey Whisperer
Are they lovers or are they just hanging out? Are they like Bert and Ernie?
Let's just say
you're shouting again, Bert.
that they are imbibing on a lot of Surly. That there are lots of mixed drinks, and that Keys and the Whisperer are glad to be done with us.
I love Bert and Ernie.
Bert and Ernie.
Well,
That was
Ernie.
more of a Kermit.
Yeah, you
voice
saw him
there.
like a.
It's got Kermit's here too, man.
Frog.
Hey guys.
Anyway,
Keys, you're shouting again, Keys.
Keys is gone.
Keys was replaced by feedback.
Yeah.
So-
And we do thank Keys. We
Keys
thank
He's
has
Keys
made
for his
several
contributions.
great contributions over the years. He
Yep,
really
he
did.
was around a long time.
I think he was offended that the team wasn't always, especially under Mike Zimmer, wasn't taking his advice.
Oh,
His highlighted keys were going
so
unused on Sunday game days.
is that similar then to the hockey whisper with the Wild and Dean and Kirill and whatnot? Is that also why?
The Whisperer just
Embarrassed.
the Whisperer did the wrestling thing and put his career on the line with a prediction that went awry. So
Sure.
Awry is a nice way to put it.
that's what happened there. But you never say never in wrestling, in podcasting.
Yep.
You never know when someone could make their return.
I don't see Keys. I don't see him coming back. I think there's some issues probably to try to get back in the country as well.
Oh,
Boy. Visas? Visa issues?
Yeah. Also, I think the climate has changed
Passport.
quite a bit since Keys was last, on the forefront here, that people just don't tolerate preview content quite as much.
Yeah,
You know,
that's true.
They just don't like preview
That's
content.
true.
And preview content has a shelf life more so than other content.
And he also
And that's
asked
been
for
tough
a
for Keys to hear.
significant raise at one point, and
Oh, did he?
I heard the brass didn't take kindly to that.
He actually took the contract and added a comma and some extra zeros,
It's a terrible idea.
very disrespectfully.
terrible idea, Keys.
Hey, real quick here. Last month and you can still, if you got $5, $50, whatever you're in the mood to donate here, we helped raise money for the Play for Patrick Foundation, which helps raise money for kids 14 to 24 who may have potential hidden heart defects, to get screenings and to uncover something that could potentially be dangerous for them. So playforpatrick.org, playforpatrick.org. This all stemmed from Patrick Schoonover's untimely tragic death, hidden heart condition on the ice. It's just some people are predisposed, and his family has spent the last 8 years or so, since 2014, raising money for this cause. Playforpatrick.org. All right, guys, that's your Feedback Friday here on Mackey and Judd. Don't forget, on Sunday, right after Vikings-Lions finish up, Vikings Vent Line on the Purple Daily YouTube channel. Go ahead and click the subscribe button there so you can get the notification when we go live right after the game is over. See ya.